mental health problems are becoming increasingly prevalent in our society, especially among the youths. So this forms our topic of discussion this night on this episode of Health Nuggets. We'll have a privilege of looking at what the signs are, what contributes to mental health among the youths, and definitely looking at how we can solve this problem in our society. Karibu sana, my name is Aida Munzati. I'll be your host for today, and I'm being joined by an amazing panel. That is Derek Were, who is a mental health advocate, as well as Mr. Mika Langat from the Kenya Institute of Professional Counseling, who is a counselor psychologist. Karibu sana, gentlemen, and I'm happy and very ready to hear of your experiences and what exactly you have to say about mental health in youths. So just starting with you, Mr. Langat, I've just mentioned of how mental health is increasing in our society. Do you have any figures, probably just to see the prevalence, especially in Kenya, and just comparing with the outside world?
All right. Thank you so much, Aida. I am in agreement with the sentiments or statements that go to show that mental health concerns are increasing. It's increasing among all the population, but now today we are focusing on the youths. The statistics that call to support this, especially in sub-Saharan, are not documented. Maybe that goes to show, probably we're going to maybe discuss and see what are some of these reasons that that show, or that show that go to fight to make the mental health concerns not get to be documented in sub-Saharan. But then generally, it has been researched and found out that one among every 4 youths are struggling through mental health concerns, and so it becomes only imperative to think that it's all over around us. Like we are 3 of us, and so if there were a 4th person here, then 3 of us could be struggling with mental health concerns. Yes. Well,
thank you so much. Now, I just mentioned of Derek Were, who is a mental health advocate. And Derek, before us talking of this topic of discussion, definitely you are a youth, and I'm happy that, let me say, the 3 of us are. So just share of your experience and what made you to be a mental health advocate. Why so passionate about mental health?
Thank you so much. Personally, I never imagined this would be a space I'd want to. I was more interested with governance issues, but things really got out of hand in my life. In the year 2020, I was losing myself. I was struggling with relationships. I was struggling to set boundaries with people, and people were taking advantage of every other thing. From my family, there was a lot of struggles, conflict, and you know, I was taking in every other thing that was coming from my friends, from the community, and you feel like, you know, you should be the savior in all these situations. So things got out of proportion, and I could no longer hold it, and I was losing track of myself. I was being suicidal. I never saw life past today or past tomorrow, and I even struggled meeting people, and I even stopped completely going to the public, and I started, locking myself up at home to just try and, find ground for myself. So to cut the long story short, I slowly started to embark on a self-care process to find out more about this and whether it is important. And in the process, I found psychology, which I did and I completed early this year. And yeah, it has been a journey for me. I champion for mental health, and I also have a podcast with my friend where we advocate, and we are very passionate about helping other young people who are struggling to understand themselves, and also to know how to have good relationship with other people. Yeah.
Okay, so you've mentioned of being suicidal, maybe depression. Mr. Langat, with mental health in youths, definitely depression, let me say depression and suicide are really on the rise among the youths. As a counselor, what's your word on this?
All right, yeah, sure. They end up to being schizophrenic, for example. We see some people out there who are mad. The schizophrenic situations, these people, we call them mad. So how did that person get there? It's because they graduated gradually tend to that condition. So you talk of mental health, the most predominant are the stresses and depression, and then that manifestations of which comes as suicidal ideations, whereby a youth feels fatigued and sees no meaning to live. And so those ideations begin to knock in, and someone then see themselves as suicidal. So my word for that is to say that, we might be having this conversation because we feel that we do not need to have mental health concerns of that nature, but then there is the positive side of that. We are needed. There is some certain levels of stress and disturbances that we need to have in order for us to function. But then it becomes only an adversary when it's not taken care of, like the way you hear Were began to embark on a journey of self-care, which is to say that he himself became aware that there was need for him to control or contain some of these stresses. Yes.
Okay, so you've mentioned some of the signs, yeah, and even Derek also mentioned some of the signs. Before us now getting to the signs, what exactly contributes? What are the risk factors? Maybe Derek, just from your own experience, what do you think contributed?
The first thing is information. Most of the time we lack information about ourselves. And then number two, depending on where you've been brought up, there's the issue of what society expects of you or from you. If I am a man, the society expects me to suppress my emotion. It doesn't expect to see me cry. Doesn't expect me to see me whine and say things that are hard. So in the process, you end up storing a lot of this. And then when things are out of proportion, that is when you hear, somebody committing or dying of suicide. To use the right term, and somebody going. Getting other related mental health issues. They are schizophrenic, they are depressed, they've developed anxiety attacks or panic attacks. So yeah, it is all about what we believe that largely contributes. Yeah, and I'd say today is more of societal expectation. We expect people to do well in terms of money. We expect people to dress well, to be happy all the time. Nobody wants to tell us that any emotion is part of life. Human beings are emotional beings. True. That you need to cry at times, you need to smile sometimes. If you are grieving, you don't expect to tell somebody, be strong. That one you're breaking them. You need to tell them, express yourself, let yourself feel it, So these are things people don't know about, All you're told is be strong, be strong. Other people have gone through this, you need to man up. You can go through it. We don't want to let them let out what is in. So those are some of the struggles, especially among youth, that we don't talk about most of the time. Yeah. Okay,
I like it when you say that human beings are emotional. It's not that women are emotional, men are not emotional. And you brought in the aspect of men crying as well, men expressing themselves as well. Now, Mr. Langat, now from a professional or from an expert's point of view, what contributes?
All right. I like to add on though, all what Derek has mentioned, all of it contributes from lack of information to societal beliefs and expectations. So I would like to mention a few that are very practical for youths, especially. On top of the list is lack of control. There are more chances of getting into depression when you lack control of what you're doing. I want you, for example, to look at someone who is employed. Most of these young people who are employed, they have no much control. Or even look at them, just go all the way to their home. When they get home, they have no control of their time. So then what happens is that their parents are in charge of their time and everything. So they get home and they are given tasks one after another. And they are never seen as emotional. In fact, then parents don't have this concept of youths getting depressed. Parents have never come to terms to even agree that vijana wanakuwa stressed. Yes. So then they are subjected to a lot of things and they have no control of their time. If you look at a youth who is employed, if they are less, if they have less control over what they are doing. For example, then if you look at an organization, for example, if you don't have control over what you're doing in terms of job description and expectations, there is a likelihood that you will plunge into depression. Another cause of mental health disturbance is deadlines. It's a biggest stressor for most of the youths. Most of the youths, because of the distractions that have come around, the social media and the life around us, there is a way in which you can easily get carried away and you forget the deadline. Whether you are a student or whether you're doing your own project, deadline would catch you and it becomes a point of anxiety. And when one anxiety gets on top of the other, now the chances of containing it is minimal. So therefore it becomes like a big stressor. So if I would talk to a youth, I'll ask them to watch on the boundaries of the deadlines for anything rather. So another cause of mental health disturbance that I have seen a lot happening is relationships. Lack of control over relationships. We end up into relationships without knowing ourselves. If you look at self-awareness, because I am now bringing up an issue of self-awareness, we have really taken so much conversations into the society about self-awareness, but it has really never really been found out. Why are we not self-aware? Why is it that we are never aware of ourselves? I did some fact finding and I found out that we are not aware about ourselves because our senses are outward. Our senses, like for example our eyes, they are outward oriented. They conduct the environment for us. Like for example, do you know your walking style? Do you know how you respond to emotions? For example, when you are subjected to stress, do you know how you respond to it? So what I found out is that our senses, for example, our senses of touch. For example, if you touch yourself, if you tickle yourself, there are chances that you won't laugh as much as when you are tickled by someone from the outside. So self-awareness is an issue that is big because we don't even know how we think. We don't even know how we react to situations. We need other people to tell us that, oh, you reacted badly. And you're like, really? Like, for example, from this podcast, from this conversation, there is a way in which you listen to yourself and say, oh, is that me? Did I say that? Thereafter. So what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that lack of awareness or lack of touch with self is also one of the leading causes of depression.
Okay, you've mentioned of relationships. Derek, I'll just come to you about that because you shared of that as well. But there's this thing that you've mentioned, Langa, that the society of or parents, you'll find probably a young person and an elder person is like, when mtu mdogo, I mean you're a youth, why are you stressed? Why or what exactly is stressing you up? So Derek, from the relationships that you had, what exactly was happening and what exactly maybe you will say pushed you to the end?
There's something Langat said. Number one, we are getting into relationships to get approved, to get validated, to get people who will love us at a point when we don't even love ourselves. We are getting into relationship as a need, not as a want. So I struggled with my relationship because one, I was looking for somebody as a need, like they will fill the gap in my space. So going, and then this is another human being who has their own boundaries and they know themselves better. So in that process, when you don't feel like they're giving you what you're giving, you feel like these people are draining you, you feel like they are shortchanging you. So I'd say most of the time with relationship, especially among young people, is they don't know that they need to love themselves first before they extend hand to invite another person. So they're getting into relationship when they have emotional wounds from their family, from abused family. So you realize you're dating somebody who came from a family where violence was at the norm of the day. So when they get mad with you, they turn violent. We have had cases of people, stabbing their partners, and sometimes gets to cases where we have buried so many souls because of domestic violence, and these are behaviors people have adopted most of the time from their homesteads. So I'd say my biggest struggle in my relationship or relationships I've had that things are not working is because I didn't know myself. I was expecting too much from the other side, and I had given all my powers to other people to decide whether I'll be happy. That if Derek has to smile, it has because of my friend.
Someone, yeah.
I have to do something to make them happy so that I'll be happy, and that is a wrong thing. If you have to depend on another person so that you're happy, then your mental health is at a big stake. You need to first of all be happy with yourself, contented with yourself, to allow another person to bring another aspect of, by the way, you are a happy person. It becomes a compliment. But if you wait for them first, then it means everything you'll be doing is based on what the world says. If the world says you don't look good, that is when you get anxious. You start thinking about putting something on your face, changing how you dress, because they said this and this. That is what is disturbing most of us outside there. Trying to please. You want to spend more than you're earning as a young person because you need to make her happy.
And even get into loans and debts.
Yes, young people, we are borrowing loans left, right and center. We have exhausted all the platforms of borrowing money because we want to please our friends. We want to please our boyfriends and our girlfriends because the world says if what we are watching, Kim Kardashian is spending, this amount on this, on shoes, why should I not do that, Let me go and borrow this and borrow that so that I can be able to please look good before people, not before myself, before people. That's terrible, and that is what is killing us, young people outside there. Yeah.
Wow. I think I'm getting carried away. But Derek, you've mentioned of all the contributors, that is Derek and Langat. You've brought in a very key aspect, Derek, of let me say comparison. You've even mentioned of Kim Kardashian's. How do you think social media contributes?
As a young person, I'd say social media contributes almost 70% of who young people are becoming. That is the sad reality of today, because society has always has a way of impacting how you become. Many years ago, the society our forefathers and our parents were living in had no social media, had limited time with external behaviors and ways of life. However, in today's life as a young person, our first community is the social media. The first thing I see people doing in the West, is when they wake up, this is what they do, this is how they dress, this is what they apply. And that is the first thing I want to do as a young person, People are living fake life outside there. People are living large on social media, and it has become difficult for them to walk in the streets, How will I be walking in the streets when people know on social media I have a car, People know this is the kind of dress, I put on. So social media largely affects us. If I wake up in the morning and the first thing is I scroll people's status, it is very likely, if I have a contact of 100 people, it's very likely 10 people will have posted a status of them having a beautiful day, That will trigger my mind. I'll be like, am I the only one suffering in this world, You'll question yourself that morning. You'll not even have time to reflect on what you want to do that morning, and it will affect the entire day. You'll be thinking based on what do I do to live like the 10 people I've seen, and your mind is telling you every other person within your circle is living like those 10 people. So you go to the day, everything you do during that day is based on what you saw on social media. Later in the day you scroll, whether it's TikTok, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Instagram, you're seeing people eating pizza or whatever kind of meal they're having, and you're like, I need to spend on this. I need to do this so that my friends will appreciate me and will love me. And that is the trouble. And lastly, social media is slowly pulling young people away from honest conversations among themselves. I've been to places where all of us were new to that place, but all of us were on our gadgets. Nobody wanted to know who is Mr. Langat, He could be somebody I need in my life. They could connect me to the next, job I need, the job I've been looking for. But we don't do that. Even at home, you will find parents today have bought their kids phones, tablets. A kid who is in 13 years, 12 years, 10 years, they are on their tablets all the time. So they don't have contact with those who are around them. The trouble is, in the long run, you'll accumulate so much in your mind from external interference, and then the only time you let it out is when things have piled up, and not when things are okay. And in mental health, in counseling, you need to what I normally say is you need to go to sleep when you're empty. That you have said everything, that you have let your heart be at peace with yourself, and you can relax and await the next day with a fresh mind, ready to do the next task. Yeah.
Okay, great. What I'll say about the social media platform, the TikToks and all that, I think as young people, anyone around the world, no one posts of their shortcomings. We are always posting of our achievements and all that. So if everyone would post of their shortcomings, then I think for those youths, or for that youth who doesn't feel like they've made it in life, they'll be like, oh, so I'm not the only one. Maybe Langat, you can just add on maybe social media.
I can add on that because I think that's the beauty of social media, because now it has also enabled us to be able to advance the mental health conversations, without which, or in the absence of which, we would not have known the stories of people struggling, right? Like we have seen other people come really out, and they are bold enough to share their personal stories that has inspired these conversations and even sparked the conversations that we have right now, that have made mental health conversations and information reaching to the people who need it the most. But then you see now what happens in everything that is good, that is always also the flip side of it, which we have seen happening, right? People even getting addicted, right? Like addiction to social media is as compared to the addiction of alcohol or any other thing that you feel. When you get addicted, it will be bad, right? Like I mentioned earlier on about deadlines, it will also be a point of distraction. Like right now, I am also battling with it. I'm a Netflix kind of person. I subscribe to it, and then I feel obligated to use it, right? At the same time, because I pay for it. I pay for it, so I have to watch a few things so that at least I see the value of what I pay for. But then you see now, it is a distraction, because now the amount of hours that I see, especially because they're very good in making sure that you get suspended at the end of one episode and you go to the next, right? Now, what am I saying here? I'm trying to say that there is the beauty of it, and then there is that negative side of it. But then on top of all that, I'm seeing social media to be a platform that if you are aware of yourself, I think you just have to boil down to the issue of self-awareness, then you can easily navigate through it, okay? Yeah.
All right. Cool. And on social media, maybe I'll just share the experience.
Okay.
You've talked of deadlines. You've talked of working environments, how deadlines can really push someone. And personally, the social media platform that I'll say relieves my stress, relieves my anxiety. I don't know, Derek, if you'll agree, but that is TikTok.
Yeah.
You can go there, dance or play around with videos, listen to music, and all those things. And personally, I usually feel like, at least I don't feel the pressure of the world, the pressure of work and all that. So you've mentioned over substance use or drug abuse. Let's just look at now the science. How can I tell that this person maybe is undergoing a mental health issue or a mental health problem like that?
Okay, there is the obvious manifestations of mental health that you could see from, for example, if I give you a typical example of a work setting, you would see someone probably this time begins to shift into some habits, like for example, this person seems to have a negative, diminished sense of self-worth. He or she has issues of self-esteem, doesn't like engaging with people, social withdrawal. Also, for example, of course, the most visible ones are people just talk of headaches, like I have an headache or I'm not feeling well. Someone says it is key, I'm not feeling like it, right? I'm feeling like I'm not like. Those kind of manifestations are there, right? Whereby you have fatigue, even headaches in the physical manifestations. But then it can also go to the positive one. You see someone never really, we've seen, this is a very interesting one, that someone is coping with the depression or stress by using positive reinforcements in life. For example, someone begin to do makeups, like now, these ones, that does a lot of makeup this time around. Like this person has been neutral, and then now just began to do a lot of makeup or too heavy kind of dressing. And so someone could be undergoing something and they're coping up with it through that. So it can be positive things. For example, if you are, like for example, you have mentioned about social media, then you have seen social media to be a reliever. It gets you to cool down and relax. That can also be a manifestation if someone overdo that. So someone gets overdoing the social media at the expense of what they are supposed to be doing. For example, if you are not into the social media really as a career, and then you overdo it, then probably there are chances that you are also coping up with a disturbance in life. Some other manifestations are very obvious, like now red eyes, for example, for those who smoke or use the substance. Yes.
Okay. Derek, from your experience, like what would you say are some of the signs that someone around you could not tell?
Well, there is change in behavior. Probably if this person was eating twice in a day, you will realize either they're not eating or that they are overeating. Their moods around people, if they are very sociable people, they start withdrawing from people. Even the way they laugh. There's a way how your friends laugh. Me, at least, I know those who are around me. I know how they will smile. But when you see somebody is smiling over nothing and over everything, then there's trouble. At times I'm like, wait, we have to sit down. What is the issue? Because you're laughing. The people will laugh so that they distract the public from knowing something is happening from within. Or the people who normally don't talk much, but they're talking at a very fast-paced speed. And they're trying to avoid questions. That will tell. And then for me, the other thing that really hit me hard was my sleeping pattern completely changed. I don't want to wake up in the morning. Sometimes I lose sleep completely. I can't sleep at night. And then being negative, feeling like life has no meaning. And there are those who go to the extent of the kind of things they post on social media. Now that we're talking about social media, there are people, the kind of messaging they put on social media, you can tell there's something wrong, there's a miss somewhere, the emojis that communicate something is missing, something is lacking. So for those I know, I normally look at these signs and I always reach out to just find out what is wrong,
Are you okay?
Are you okay? Sometimes people will not tell you. You'll ask somebody, are you okay? They'll say, I'm okay. Then they will, if it's on phone, they will hang up. That is when they're breaking down. You've hit them with that question, are you okay? So yeah, those are manifestations I think I've seen with people I've interacted with most of the time, yeah.
Okay, and I think it's a great conversation, but time is really catching up with us. Langat, how can these youths now find help? Where can they find help?
Okay. All right. So youths can really can get help, especially through professional guidance. Especially there are so many opportunities for youths to really get to discover themselves. I think there is so much you can do in discovering yourself through a platform where you can talk about your story. I am an advocate of talk therapy. Talk therapy is where you share your story. You can't get help by attending a forum. You have had forums or places where you go to listen. Those forums really do so much in impacting and giving you information. But what really gets you to really grow and grow through the adversary of life, it's really when you undergo talk therapy. You see, for youths, I believe that it is more. What is more important? It's more important, more than just scoring the good grades or achieving your career or doing well in life. I believe one of the things is managing the adversaries of life would be really when they need to score more, living the day-to-day experiences, and then being able to stand out and overcome some of these challenges that the youths are going through in their midlife crisis. So they can get help, especially by attending forums where they can talk, like what Eric is doing, podcasts, or attend a training that gets them to be self-aware. Yeah.
Now that you mentioned of deadlines and everything, how do you think maybe either employees or employers can make their working environment safe and even, let me say, mental wealthy?
Okay. Well, it is by what I mentioned, through by giving the youths control over what they are doing. Like if you have a new recruit in the name of a youth, I believe it is only imperative that you give them control over what they are doing. There are chances. My employer is a good example. When I was new in my career, my employer never challenged me. I made mistakes, those crazy ones. When you're making mistakes when you're starting up your career, my employer never threatened me like, oh, I will fire you because of this. And it made me, it gave me a chance to make mistakes enough that I were able then to really make my career grow in terms of, now I have autonomy. I think that is what I'm saying. I have autonomy over what I'm doing, and that means I am able to grow and know that I am in charge of it. So we can give the youth a chance, and then again, organizations can also invest in their employees. Investing in their employees is by giving them a chance to see counselors. Right now, we are, as an institution, we have seen companies cracking up to that, whereby they sponsor their employees to see therapy, and then to see therapists of our own, and then they pay for them. So when they go through that, then you are able to address some of the issues that are tangential to mental health, that are connected to their families, where they are coming from. And some of these issues are not just contextual to their working place or where they are working. So I believe employers can do so much in investing in their employees in that manner, because we lose a lot of money as a result of behavioral problems which are not attributed in the financial statements. Like, for example, if I come to your company and you address me wrongly and I have a deal over like 1 million to give to your company, and you address me through your personality problems or your issues you had with your husband or at home, there is a chance that I'm going to withdraw my deals with you, and the company loses that money. So that money is never captured in the financial statement as amount that has been lost. Yes.
Okay. So Derek, just briefly, you'll share with us, you mentioned you've been in a toxic working environment, so you can just briefly share with us how you did cope with that, and what do you think probably parents and society can do to improve the mental health of our youths?
Talking about toxic workspaces, it's a big challenge. As Langat said, it's good for employers to give the benefit of doubt to their employees and to always allow them to do what they can do. There are places where employers want to micromanage every other thing, and their comments are always negative about what you're doing. Even if you're doing well, even if your fellow employees feel like you're giving your best, they don't want to affirm that you're doing something good. The other thing is, how do they help them? Employers can help, especially young people, by allowing there to be conversations or consensus when it comes to coming or with deadlines or particular task, and allowing them to share their views about particular tasks. Because sometimes if I am the one handling a particular issue, it means I have a better understanding than somebody who is above me. They might look at it from company level, but I'm looking at it from a root level, where I'm dealing with people, I'm dealing with documents, and I feel like if it's done this way, it will not be the right way, but according to you, it should be done in this particular way. So to just guide them and have space where once in a while check up on employees, give them breaks. There are companies where breaks are, they hardly give the employees break, and once in a while have a seat and just discuss with each employee how they're faring on. It can't be every time I walk into that office is, did you finish that task? Are you doing this? Are you doing this? Nowadays you've become lazy. No, find out. Nowadays you don't seem to be okay. Are you okay? First of all, is there a way, or is there something we can do as a company to improve how you're delivering your task? That is something important. On the society level, it is important for the community to just understand, first of all, it is okay not to have a car at the age of 22. It is okay to cry as a man. A man is a human being who is emotional. It is okay for you to seek help. It is okay for you to chase dreams and fail and start all over again. And it's okay to express any emotion. Are you happy? Are you angry? Are you sad? You don't feel like talking to people? That is an emotion that should be let out. So the society should accommodate. It does not be judgmental. I've seen cases where there's a person who almost died of suicide, but he was rescued by the police. Instead of them referring this person, this victim, to counselors, to professional support, they decided to attack him. You know, even the mob was attacking him. Now they want to, you know, kill him because he was almost, you know, letting loose of everything. This is somebody who is not sane. By the time somebody is thinking about suicide, they are not mentally sane. They are saying, I need your help. I need your hand. Come and support me. That is what they want. So community, we need to understand that people are going through a lot, and let us accommodate them. Let us allow them to speak and express the emotions as they come. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Derek and Langat. I think we'll leave it at that. Time has not favored us. But what I'll say is that it's okay not to be okay. Let me just use that phrase. And dear viewer, we were looking at mental health among the youth. And I repeat again, it is okay not to be okay. That was Mika Langat, who is a counseling psychologist, and Derek Uwere, who is a mental health advocate. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope that just like me, you found this conversation great and very informative. That's all we had for you on this episode of Health Nuggets. My name is Ida Munzatsi, and as always, your health matters.